Hello, my friends. Today we'll start with the fact that Zelensky has officially refused to travel to Moscow for negotiations.
I've heard several times publicly that the Russian side invited me, although it seems to me they invited me personally. I responded to that. We are defending our state, and Russia attacked us. They are the aggressor. I cannot come to negotiations with Putin in Moscow, the capital of the country that is the aggressor in this war. We are ready to support proposals from the United States and meet on any territory in America, Europe, or in a neutral country, any country except Russia and Belarus. Belarus, because it was an ally in the offensive against Ukraine in 2022.
He also said that there will be no announcement of a referendum or elections on February 24th, despite claims by foreign media outlets.
Regarding elections, this is the first time I'm hearing about an intention to announce them on the 24th. I first heard it, probably, from the Financial Times, and now I'm hearing it from you for the second time. Second, I have said many times regarding elections, we move to elections when there are all the necessary security guarantees. Third, I have always said that the issue of elections is raised by certain partners. Ukraine itself has never raised it, but of course we are ready for elections. I've said it's very simple to make happen, establish a ceasefire, and there will be elections. So this is a matter of security.
Zelensky also said that the United States is aware of his conditions for a ceasefire in order to hold a referendum.
Can you confirm that during the negotiations our delegation discussed with the Americans a specific date, May 15th, for holding elections or a referendum? And after numerous meetings and conversations, was our delegation able to make it clear to the Americans that elections in Ukraine are only possible under proper security conditions? Our delegation knows my position, it is clear, and they conveyed it. We are ready to work with any timelines proposed by our American colleagues. But if we raise the issue of a referendum, as I have already said, there must be an understanding of a ceasefire for this to happen, because structurally a referendum is like an election, it requires security. The same applies to elections. Once again, the American side and not only those who raise this issue have heard from us repeatedly that we are not against elections, but only if security conditions are met. Our American colleagues have heard this from us many times.
Accordingly, neither elections nor any referendum should be expected in the near future because the war continues. Putin has also already stated that there will be no ceasefire, not even for a single day, and the challenge will continue. Moreover, information is emerging that a new large-scale strike may be prepared in the coming days. Russia is preparing a strike on Kyiv's water supply system. Authorities are urging residents to stock up on water according to monitoring channels. One of the potential targets is the Bortnichi aeration station, a facility operated by Kyiv Vodokanal and the only wastewater treatment plant serving the capital and its metropolitan area. The station is located in southern Kyiv. It is the city's main sewage treatment facility. Between 95 to 100% of Kyiv's wastewater, as well as part of the surrounding region's sewage, flows there. Without it, the city physically wouldn't be able to function. In the worst case scenario, a sewage system collapse, untreated wastewater could flow into the Dnipro River or surface in residential areas, causing ruptures and severe odor across parts of the capital. An environmental catastrophe, pollution of the Dnipro River, fish death, contaminated water for millions of people, and years of recovery. Sanitary and epidemiological risks, outbreaks of intestinal infections, hepatitis A, dysentery, risks to hospitals, schools, and kindergartens. The Bортnich station is one of the most critical infrastructure points in the capital, alongside the energy sector. A strike on it wouldn't be just another outage; it would be an environmental and humanitarian catastrophe at the national level. Overall, this situation remains serious, and if new strikes also target the energy sector, electricity supply problems could become even worse. Meanwhile, fighting on the front line continues, and the armed forces of Ukraine are carrying out counterattacks. So let's begin with the situation in the areas of Ternuvate and Huliaipole. Offensive actions there are ongoing. Based on geolocation maps, we can see that the Ukrainian forces are striking heavily around Rivnopilya in order to weaken Russian forces in the rear. So the fighting in this sector continues. It's also important to note that in the Zaporizhzhia direction, Russian sources have confirmed Ukrainian gains as well. Geolocation maps confirm the clearing of the villages of Novoyakovlivka, Lukyanivske, and areas near Primorske. So far, there are no reports of new large scale Russian assaults in this area, but heavy shelling of Orikhiv has been recorded, and FPV drones are actively operating there. Thus, the fighting here also continues, and the Ukrainian forces are doing everything possible to prevent Russian forces from advancing toward Zaporizhzhia. In the Kherson direction, the Russians continue shelling, but today there have been no offensive actions, and over the past 24 hours, there have been no changes along the front line. Now let's move to the Sumy direction. Here, the Russians haven't carried out any new assaults. The situation along the border also remains stable for now. In the Kharkiv direction, the Russians have halted all offensive operations and the front line remains unchanged. However, shelling continues intermittently. In the Vovchansk area, Russian forces are attempting to break through near Prolipka. Assaults on the outskirts of Vovchansk are ongoing, and fighting continues for control of Vovchansky Hutory. Despite the high level of activity, they have so far been unable to advance further. In the Velika Burluk direction, no new assaults have been recorded today, and all previous attacks by Russian forces were unsuccessful, so there are no changes here. In the Kupiansk direction, there are also no reports of new assaults today. All attacks on Pishane have failed for the Russian side, and the front line remains unchanged in this area as well. In the Borova direction, the Russians are assaulting Novoyegorivka, but activity is minimal and there have been no breakthroughs. In the Liman direction, the Russians have also slightly reduced their activity. They advancing from Zarichne toward Liman, assaulting Stavky, and attempting to push past Drobasheva. But over the past 24 hours, the front line has remained unchanged here as well. In the Sloviansk direction, the Russians are assaulting Dibrova, attempting to push past Ozerne, attacking Riznikivka, and offensive actions have been recorded in the fields near Zakitne. However, over the past 24 hours, there have been no new changes, and all attacks are being repelled. In the Konstantinivka direction, The Russians continue assaults within the city, but are unable to advance further. Small sabotage and reconnaissance groups periodically appear almost in the city center, but they are being eliminated, and there are no significant changes in this sector. Attacks are also ongoing near the villages of Berestok and Rusynyar, but there are no changes along the flanks either. In the Dobropilla direction, the Russians are attempting to break through near Torske and are assaulting Novy However, according to Ukrainian forces, clearing operations are also underway in the village of Novy and efforts to stabilize the situation are continuing. In the Pokrovsk direction, the Russians are assaulting Rodinsk and Grishine and are trying to push along the western flank. However, despite managing to penetrate quite far beyond the front line in recent days, they have been unable to secure positions in the fields, and therefore there are no changes here. In the Novopavlivka direction, attacks continue on Filia and Ivanivka. However, the Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks, and there are no changes. Meanwhile, uh, reports indicate that Russia is blocking everything possible. After YouTube, WhatsApp has now been completely blocked in Russia. The service's domain has been removed from Roskomnadzor's DNS. The messenger's domain disappeared from Roskomnadzor's DNS service, just like YouTube did yesterday. Now, without a VPN, users cannot access the video hosting site or the messenger. The network equipment cannot link the website addresses to the IPs and will show an error. Telegram is also facing problems there. And even some deputies are saying that those trying to block Telegram should go to the front.
Who is slowing down Telegram? Go to the front. To the special military operation. The guys shedding blood, they have their only connection to family and loved ones. What are you doing? Idiots, what are you doing? People are raising money for the operation. People, this is the only way to communicate with family and loved ones through Telegram channels. Yes, Max is a great messenger. But let's at least let people decide for themselves what they choose. I want to say again, those who are doing this are scoundrels. Scoundrels. People are dying there. Dying for Russia, for the Russian world. And what are you doing? Wake up.
Clearly, dissatisfaction in Russia is growing. Meanwhile, Mark Rutte stated that despite Russia's attacks on Ukraine, the Ukrainian people cannot be broken.
Tomorrow, we'll also discuss our support for Ukraine. I was there last week and saw the impact of Russia's relentless attacks, including on critical civilian infrastructure. And once again, President Putin is trying to break the people of Ukraine, hoping to weaken their resolve. But Ukraine and the Ukrainian people have shown time and again that they will not be broken.
Friends, be sure to share your thoughts on this in the comments. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.